He is the destroyer. He is the one and only Conor Benn, who is so very kind to join us right here at the top of the show. Hello, Conor. How are you? Thank you so much for doing this. And I know you've been traveling all over the world. I know you're very tired. We appreciate it, and we won't keep you very long, but very, very excited to have you on the program.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Pleasure to be on.
So let's get right into it. You know, I had the pleasure of seeing you in Times Square. You were sitting there ringside watching all the activities, and I remember as I walked away thinking, I wonder how Conor is handling all of this, because the first thing I said to you was congratulations, and I was offering so much praise. But I do know that, you know, the man that I saw at the post-fight press conference was gutted, was heartbroken. That was your first pro loss. It was a loss that meant a lot to you and your family, your father, of course. It was a huge fight. And so you have everyone like myself coming up to you and showering you with praise and congratulating you. But in the end, you're not in this for moral victories. And so how are you dealing with that sort of juxtaposition of feelings? The praise that you're receiving, but ultimately you came there to win. You wanted that W.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's hard. It's heartbreaking. I mean, I don't work hard to lose. I don't sacrifice time with my family to lose. And it has been challenging, of course. I mean, when I think about it, but then what's warming is people going up to me saying, "We thought you just nicked it. We thought you won," and even being able to give the public that sort of level of entertainment. That makes me proud, because at the end of the day, there's so many fighters out there who don't entertain and don't take that responsibility on them to entertain. When ultimately I'd rather win, I'd rather lose an exciting fight than win a boring fight, because then I sit there and I go, well, did you actually even win? And that's my sort of mindset. Is ultimately it's entertainment business, and jumping up 2 weights and challenging Chris is a great experience. And no doubt, I thought I had won the fight. I thought I just nicked it, but it was my fault for letting it get that close.
Perhaps you just alluded to your answer here, but I'm just curious, because in the post-fight press conference, you were also asked about what you were proud of, and you really offered nothing. You were still so very disappointed. Can you now, some days removed, I know it hasn't been months, look back and say, yeah, I was proud of the way I fought on that night?
I haven't watched it back yet fully.
Wow.
So yeah, I've got to build up the courage to watch it back, because I know there's loads of mistakes that I made and loads of things I didn't do in there, which I know I should have done. And I know I'll just be kicking myself. So I've got to build up the courage to watch it back. What I am happy about is the fact that this will go down as a British classic. This will go down as, one of them great fights that's a must watch. But also your stocks go up when you're in fights like that. Ultimately, giving people value for money. People don't want to watch fighters who go in there to nick the fight, or to just win a round, or just to get by. It was there was a lot on the line. So we fought with our hearts in there.
Please, Conor, when you can, watch it back. I messaged you straight away saying that's one of the greatest fights I've ever seen, and I've seen hundreds of fights, thousands of fights. I've been ringside and commented and presented fights. That's one of the best fights I've seen for a long time. What was the moment like? You've not fought in something that big, right? Many fighters don't get the chance to fight in stadiums, especially sold-out stadiums. What was that moment like when you're making that ring walk with your dad, with Eddie, the noise of the crowd? Can you sum that moment up for us?
Can't really explain it to you, because everyone knows what I've been through for the past 2.5 years. I hadn't fought in England for 3 years. So for me to get to that moment was a proud moment, as in, you made it, Conor. You made it through. And I've been through a lot. I've been through hell and back, and I didn't quite know, or you don't know how much life has taken out of you when you go through things like that. And well, clearly it's not taken a lot, but it is in the back of your head. What have I got left in me? And I've no doubt got that fire, and no doubt still got that ambition and that drive to be the best fighter I can possibly be. And yeah, no, I was excited. I was excited, nervous, of course, not because of Chris, but because of the occasion, and just wanted to perform and deliver to the public. They've been waiting for the fight for 3 years, and I just wanted to live up to expectation.
It exceeded expectations. And I don't normally say that. There were so many great moments on the night, Conor, but I feel like one of the best moments was when Chris Eubank Sr. sort of exits the car and you and your dad are looking at it on the screen. And I remember thinking, this is like the WWE. This is just extraordinary. What's going through your mind and your dad's mind when you see Chris Eubank Sr. and Jr. sort of coming out the lift and there's a camera on you guys watching them?
Yeah, I mean, you can't see the facial expression, but I was so happy he turned up because it got to the stage where at the first press conference I was like, "Yeah, your dad don't like you." I still think that's the case, and you know, I don't like you, Chris. Do you know what I mean? So, but then it got to a stage where the second press conference, where it was like a lot of personal things were said, and you could clearly see there was a problem there, where it's a topic that I didn't really want to talk about. It was a topic that I got asked about, and I had to constantly say, it's really not my place to talk about it. Do you know what I mean? Don't be asking me them questions because I'm not getting into that. There's levels you just don't go to. And for me, when I saw how personal it was and what was being said, I felt for Chris. So for me, seeing him there, I was over the moon because it wouldn't have been the same without Senior turning up. My dad's forever in my corner. That goes without saying. My dad's there. He's my shadow. But to see Senior, if the fight has mended their relationship, that money can't buy that.
He did say in the aftermath, Senior did, "I was always going to be here." And I'm not sure if any of us believe him. I mean, 10 days prior, he was calling his son a disgrace. If, in fact, that was always the plan, he worked all of us. Did you have any sort of hint, inclination, heads up that he was showing up on the night? Did you know the whole time as well?
Yeah, there was whispers, but I never actually thought he'd turn up. Whatever it is, there's obviously the issue's a lot deeper than boxing.
Yeah.
So it's not really again something that I feel comfortable talking about. I pray that it's genuine, and their relationship prospers. But whether that's because of our fight, but there is I can't help but think or know that Junior had that little boy in him feeling, I'm so happy my dad's here to see what I've achieved.
Yeah.
I just can't not see it, because when I had done the ring walk and I looked to my dad, the first thing I said to my dad was, "I love you, man." Because I wanted him to do the ring walk with me. I didn't even know Senior was going to be there and do the ring walk with Chris, but my dad was always going to do the ring walk with me, and I wanted to share that moment with my dad, because this is you, Dad. This is like, this is the foundations you laid, and that's my dad was going to do the walk with me regardless whether Senior was there. It turned out perfectly well. It turned out like a story, a movie, with Senior turning up. But yeah, no doubt that that little boy in Junior was proud to have his dad there in that moment.
Not to skip over the fight, but just sticking with your father's theme, in the aftermath, what kind of words did he share with you? What did he say in the locker room? I know it was probably very hectic, but do you remember anything that he said to you after the fight?
No, I don't. But I remember what my dad said to me in the. Me and my dad have the greatest relationship when we have we have banter, and we were in the sauna in my house, and bearing in mind I'm not upset and that, but my dad's my dad, and we rub salt in each other's wounds. And we got into like a little argument over, can't remember what it was in the sauna, like just like, "Dad, why'd you keep leaving the door open? Like the cold air comes in." and then he's gone, "Shut up, you loser."
Oh my God.
Yeah. I looked at him. I went, but he mumbled it under his breath. I went, "What'd you say?" "You heard," and he's gone, "You heard me." And I thought, I just started laughing because I was just like, of course you would do that. Because I've been giving him stick for not winning the first fight and then having a draw in the second fight and having to leave his dirty laundry to me. So, it was only right to give it to me back.
I feel like in fights of that magnitude and fights that play out like that, there are no losers. Obviously, you're going to feel different, Conor. But the reception that you got after the fight, does that kind of heal the wound a little bit? Especially the reception in America, like seeing the love out there. And I think us Brits, we're never quite sure how Americans are going to receive us, right? But the love you got in New York and in Miami, I saw that at the F1. Does that kind of make you feel like, okay, I do feel okay even in a defeat?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one because, oh man, it's hard because losing's it's not a nice feeling, and I do everything I can to not lose, and especially when I think I just nicked the fight, it's like 116, 112. It was bothering, of course, because even if I had won the last two rounds, I still wouldn't have won the fight. So it was bothering for me, and I still obviously still not watched it back. But when you hear people coming up to you almost every day going, "Yeah, we thought you won the fight," no way, he won that by 4 rounds. No way he won the fight. So I've got once I watched it back, I'll probably be able to process everything a lot better. But the amount of love I've been shown is I've probably never been shown this amount of love and admiration my whole career. I mean, to get mobbed in America, you're talking, Americans, just the casual civilian, walking down the street in New York and in Miami. It's a surreal feeling. It's something you never really get used to because ultimately I'm a fighter, and I fight with my heart on my sleeve, and I'm just so happy I can give the public, that sort of entertainment, because the reality is people only remember how you made them feel when they watch you fight.
Yeah.
And I want people to be on the edge of their seats. I want people to be like, we have to tune into Conor Benn's fight, irrelevant of who I'm fighting, because they know it's either going to be a fight or someone's getting laid out. I'd rather, as I said, lose an exciting fight than win a boring fight.
Yeah, one of the things that I saw from the very beginning, as soon as the referee called you both to the center, was the size difference. Like, there's been a lot of talk about you jumping up a couple of weight classes, and I'm like, oh, actually, Chris isn't that big, and Conor is actually now a lot thicker. I couldn't believe how much bigger he was than you. Was you surprised just how much bigger he was than you on the night?
I don't really look at anybody and go, oh, he looks pretty big. I'm just a fighter. You could
But did
put
you
me in
feel it,
front
Conor,
of.
when he had you on the ropes? Did you feel it at all? Like the extra weight of him?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I could feel it in the fight. Like, I could feel it. It's obviously we're in physical sport. I could feel the weight, but it's nothing new. I've been sparring big guys, so it's a great challenge. I love the challenge. I love the thrill, the excitement of having to perform, and use different attributes with a guy that's 2 weights bigger and a lot bigger on the night. He was a lot bigger in there. Watching the footage back, as in the highlights, I go, oh wow, he's that much bigger. Because I don't feel it. I don't see it in there. He's just another man to me. But then when you watch the highlights back and that, you go, oh mate, he's a lot bigger in size than me. But then again, I am a welterweight. I think I went into the ring on fight night 3 pounds over 160.
Wow.
So yeah, so I'm definitely not a 160 fighter, but ultimately I'll go in there and give it to whoever wants it.
By the way, it's so good. I mean, just watching those highlights in that like 10-second clip, we saw more action than we did in 2 nights of boxing over the weekend. And you keep alluding to that. And I think that's what you're doing, right? You were sitting there and you watch some great fighters have historically boring fights. And I say this just looking at the stats. The numbers punches thrown, not landed, historically bad. So I wonder, when you're sitting there watching that after the war that you just had 6 days prior, what is going through your mind as you're watching those fights in Times Square?
I'm watching him and I'm a little bit confused. Like, do you want to be a fighter? Or I'm so confused as to what you're trying to do here. I think fighters are so careful about protecting their own, or they just don't want to take no chances. But the reality is, you go swimming, you get wet. Take chances, because now no one's going to want to watch a Haney fight or a Garcia fight. It's the entertainment business. And I want to entertain. I put that pressure on myself to entertain, because my dad was the ultimate, entertainer. So when I go in there, I do fight with my heart on my sleeve, and it's the only way I know how to fight. I'll never go into a fight, even again jumping up 2 weight divisions and go, oh, what if I throw a shot and he catches me? If he catches me, so what? So what? I'll catch him again. I'll catch him harder. And that's my sort of mentality. And if you watch the replay on some of the highlights, I've thrown a shot, he's hit me back, and I've still followed through with my own shot. And yeah, I guess I have confidence in my durability. I have confidence in my stamina. I have confidence in my power. My resilience. I'm not fussed. Yeah, he was bigger on the night, but I'm not over too. I'm not concerned in the slightest. If you want to have a fight, let's have a fight and let's meet in the middle. That 18-foot ring was the only one I requested. The only demand I requested was an 18-foot ring. But everybody's like just scared to have a fight. This is what we do. No,
By the way, day before the fight, he has trouble making weight. At any point, were you afraid that the fight would get canceled?
not at all. He's a drama queen. You think some people are having to do that same weight cut for 10 grand? So like, he's made this weight his whole career, and I'm not concerned. It's all a stunt. It's all a play. That's all it is. You got to think people are doing that weight cuts for not even a fraction of the money that he's getting.
A lot of people have asked me about Conor going back down to 147. And prior to seeing you at the official weigh-in, I was like, Conor ain't making 147 again. And then when I saw you hit 156 and you looked really healthy and your skin was glowing, I was like, Conor can make 147.
Yeah.
I'm desperate to see you get in the mix with those Americans that we saw on Friday, because I think you give them hell. Honestly, I think you give them fits because you'll make them fight. And you've got options, Conor. You got Barrios, you got the Eubank rematch, Ryan, Devon, Teofimo. So you got so many dance partners. Of all those options, which one is it you want next? Is it the Eubank rematch to kind of get that get back, or is it still a case of that?
Yeah, it's definitely Eubank, because if I don't do Eubank next, that ship sailed. So it has to be Eubank next. If it's not Eubank, then that's that chapter closed. Then I drop down to 147, and I would prefer Haney out of a lot of them because. But then again, as I said, I don't fancy catching a lawsuit, so I'll probably give that a swerve. I've gone for enough court cases as it is.
Haney's a great one. And look, they're all great matchups, and look, you put yourself in that position. So, look, final one for me. Congratulations. Look, the last 2.5 years have been tough. And although you didn't get the victory you wanted, I think you come out a champion in that fight. And I think the respect you've got now from the British public, which was always going to be tough, but the US public as well now, I think it's fully deserved. So look, enjoy your spoils, and I can't wait to see you back in the ring again. Like, I'm itching, especially considering what we saw over the weekend. I'm itching for a Conor Benn fight again, because what I saw on the weekend kind of disappointed me.
I'm ready to go. I was ready to jump in. If there had been someone that pulled out an injury, I would have been ready to fight Friday. So, fingers crossed, we're working on a date now. I know September's in talks, but the reality is I'm ready to go. August, I'm ready. I've stayed in the gym. While Eubanks was in hospital being a drama queen, I was back in the gym on the treadmill. Training. So I think I've got a real fire in me to just go out and continue to prove. You got to remember that was 14 months out of the ring. A lot of nerves, a lot of, I can't say ring rust, but there's a lot of things I would have done and should have done that I didn't do. And it's the only thing I can put it down to. So, I'm excited to just get straight back out and keep active and get momentum.
And just to be clear, before we let you go, how far along are we in the rematch talks? Like, if you were to look in your crystal ball, do you think this happens September, back at Tottenham? Is he on board? The weight, all that stuff. What could you tell us about how far along we are?
As far as I'm aware, the contracts have already been signed.
Okay, so is there a date attached?
I believe so.
Can you tell us the date?
But I'm here in September.
Same spot, Tottenham Hotspur?
potentially.
Okay.
Or Wembley maybe.
I think it deserves the bigger stadium. And finally, will you roll up with that, that new Rolls? Will you pull up? I mean, I saw that thing. It's good to be
you
the
know
king.
what?
Come on.
Do you know what?
Look at that. Look at that.
Do you know what? So, aside from the fight and the night and the occasion, this was the second happiest moment of my year. Was me buying this, knowing that's just because he was 0.05 over.
Oh my God.
0.05 over. He paid for my private jet and he also paid for my Rolls Royce, full spec daddy. So cheers, Chris. I appreciate you, mate. You're a diamond.
Love
Miss
it.
Weight again, will you?
Unbelievable. Conor, congratulations on an unbelievable performance. I'll say it again. Inspiring stuff. I just want to sit back and rewatch those highlights. It was so damn good. Hopefully we get to see it again. Hopefully you are proud and you are being showered with that pride that you deserve, that love, that praise. And thanks for doing this. Most importantly, I know you've been traveling a lot, so we appreciate you staying up.
Pleasure. Thank you, guys.